Welcome to Sikorsky's Think Abouts, and I'm your host, Laura Sikorsky. My guests and I share our operations and technology expertise to help you provide outstanding customer service and customer experiences. Today, our guest is Tom Laird, and as you can see, he's up on the monitor and he's coming to us from Erie, Pennsylvania. And what we are going to talk about is contact center outsourcing. I know that many times I'm asked, am I too small to go to an outsourcer or service bureau? And luckily enough, I found Tom and so excited to have him with us. He is CEO of Expedia Interaction Marketing Group. He's got over 19 years in the contact center industry, and his knowledge of service bureaus and outsourcing is including all the different types of services that you potentially need out there. And that could be inbound call processing, outbound calls, perhaps lead generation, customer service, sales, and social CRM. So Expedia offers their customers, I should change it a little bit, the customers of their clients.
Right.
Really, it is so transparent that they do not think they're calling someone else other than the company that they called. And I want to just say that his clients do include Reader's Digest and many of the credit card companies nationwide. So with that, welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Laura. It's good to be here.
Great. And I hope your weather out there wasn't too bad in Pennsylvania as we had here in Long Island.
Yeah, no, we dodged the bullet. I think most people did too, but yeah, we came out unscathed this weekend.
Well, that was great. That was great. So in your bio, you did speak about services, and I would like you to give some real world examples of how you help or how, and this is, we're not promoting you entirely, but you are kind enough to talk about the industry to our viewers. And what exactly can a company use a service bureau for, but we want a real world application. So, give us, maybe some ideas on inbound, outbound, and chat, for example.
I mean, the nice thing about, going to an outsourcer, and I would say most U.S. outsourcers are, we are full multi-channel. So, a customer, and you talked about it, somebody, if they're too small or if they're still worried about it, is an outsourcer going to be able to help me? One of the nice things that we can provide in a lot of U.S.-based call centers is a full multi-channel experience. So, we can handle, and a lot of call centers handle the inbound customer service aspect, inbound sales, having an outbound component that probably goes with that. So if a customer does a mailing, let's say, there might be some inbound direct response work that you would do. We would do follow-up outbound calls with that, or follow up with customers who maybe have not responded to the inbound campaign. Along with that, the client may ask to do some type of social media that goes out to make sure that these customers are kind of really getting hit on any channel that they're interested in contacting the company with. So that's, I think, one of the best things that we've kind of been able to see is from a inbound, outbound, chat, social media, now even getting into app development and video customer service aspects. We can really kind of take one kind of piece and really use it for all the customer channels.
Could you talk, what do you mean by app development? What does that mean to me as a contact center manager or director?
Yeah, it's funny. The technology is advancing. So speaking for at least my organization, we have almost a little bit of an app or software development side to us, where customers are coming and saying, listen, people are using their smartphones a lot. They're not just picking up a phone anymore. So we want to be able to really tie into that as well. So we're doing certain things with, for a real world example, there's a roadside assistance company that we're in discussions with creating an app. So if you have, your grandma's out in the middle of a parking lot and it's 12 o'clock at night, she can have her phone, and not only can she dial that 1-800 number to get some help, but also just click a button, have an app come up, even having video capabilities where, one of our associates is doing a face-to-face with her to kind of calm her down, make sure she's comfortable. So really adding a lot of that type of technology into just the basic of what everybody thinks a contact center does of inbound, outbound, and now even chat, I think, is a little bit more prevalent.
Yeah, and I can tell you this to all of you out there: the Service Bureau Outsourcer has come a long way, baby. Because I mean, I remember many years ago in the '80s and early '90s, it was very difficult for the Service Bureau because the technology wasn't there. So
Right.
I mean, all they had was the transfer of the incoming phone line, and it was difficult during that time frame.
And Laura, the nice thing is too, this is our core business. So I think that's one of the things they get across. A lot of companies do a lot of things. So our core business is to service customers, to do sales with customers. I mean, that's what we do every single day. So all the tools, all the technology we get is used just for that. So it's hard, if you're a retailer and your core business is sales, you really want to set up a call center, do it right to make sure that your customer has a really good experience, and that's where we come in.
Well, that's perfect because I know many times I'm asked, how do I know when I need a contact center? And then the next question is, how much does it cost? And is there anybody out there that can help me do it for me? And
Right.
to all of you again, the outsourcing business, Service Bureau business has come a long way. When should you consider an outsourcer? I mean, is there, let's say you have your own contact center, but you're having trouble, whatever that may be.
Right.
What is your gut for our audience say? Oh my goodness, maybe I need to interview.
I would say most call centers, and we are not a large call center in the in the scheme of the thing. So we can handle it. And there's a lot of call centers out there that are niche call centers that are very boutique-ish in what they can take. But once you're getting to the to the 4 or 5 agents, that's probably the minimum that a smaller contact center would talk. But I think more importantly than size is what you're looking for. So if all you're doing it, and if you have 4 of your associates that just are answering a phone, and you don't have the technology to maybe branch out from there, I think that deserves maybe a little bit of a conversation too, to become a little bit more multi-channel, to be able to interact with your customers on different levels other than just having them pick up a phone and you answer it and you're talking to them.
And
So
that's a
that's a
great
big part.
point because multi-channel, today the customer of your clients is very savvy with technology and they want chat, they want to communicate via email and not just voice. What do you think a day in the life of an outsourced call center is?
Yeah, and I think this is what makes it a little bit different, makes it a little bit unique. Again, this is our core business, so every policy procedure goes into how does our day go, how are we servicing customers. So we have policies that I think are a little bit different, and not to specifically talk about Expedia, but when an associate comes in, we have rules for our supervisors. They have to be greeted with a handshake or a high five. There has to be some one-on-one interaction. We like to make sure that the first 30 minutes of the day are kind of controlled, not in a mean kind of autocratic sense, but just the supervisor kind of runs that, making sure that they understood the goals that they did yesterday, what are the goals for today, and we say kind of take the temperature of the room. Do you have an associate that maybe is having a little bit of a bad day that you got to go tell some jokes to kind of get them going again, or is there you just have to know and feel your people out. And then, there's constant monitoring going on. So from a quality aspect, that's a big misnomer with an outsourcer that you're going to lose some of your quality. I guess like anything, there's good centers and bad centers, but I would say for the most part, especially on the U.S. side, monitoring is handled extremely well. Everything is scored. The other thing is our supervisors are trained extremely well. A lot of the supervisors, you can't just pull really good agents. There's a program and a plan and a training mechanism for all that. We have a 6-month plan for our supervisors. But I think the last thing is too, this is a hard job. Whether you're doing it from a sales aspect or you're doing it from a service aspect, you're going to talk to some customers who can be a little rough. So we want to have fun in the call center. I want it to be a loud environment. I want high fives. We always have a game going on. Something to get the associate out of their seat maybe a little bit. That they kind of really enjoy that stuff. So it's a unique spot. A call center can be a really, really fun, unique spot. And I think, if you can kind of tie in all the kind of the policies, procedures to really understand your core business, what you're trying to do, but then add in a little bit of a fun, a little bit of flavor to it. It can be a really dynamic place.
Well, and you're 100% right. And again, because you have so many different clients that you're working for, each group or team that's assigned to that particular client, you have to remember it's the human side of the center. These folks are moms and dads and uncles and aunts, and they have bad days and good days. So,
not to interrupt, something you said kind of, I just wanted to touch on too. You're right. Our agents, you would never know that, let's just say XYZ Bank, a customer's calling XYZ Bank and needs to do some type of balance transfer or has a problem with their credit card. Our associate, they do work for us, but they take so much pride in working for the companies that they work for. So while they don't maybe work for XYZ, they really feel like they do. And we have a lot of branding that goes into the call center too, so they feel like they're really just another extension of the organization. I think that's a pretty important.
Well, that's great. Well, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back, everyone, in just a few seconds. Take care.
Hi, I'm Tim Stead. I'm from Star Communications. We're a marketing support company. And if you need help with your next marketing project, please call 273-1900, or you can go to our website, starcommunications.us.
Welcome back, everyone, to SIKORSKI'S Think Abouts, and I'm your host, Laura Sikorsky. Today we're talking with Tom Laird, who's out of Erie, Pennsylvania, and we're talking about the contact center outsourcing business. And Tom is from Expedia, and he's giving us all very good highlights about what to think about when you're contemplating, boy, my math's not working right today, contemplating a contact center outsourcer. So let's continue, Tom. What are the standards that a client or an agreement with you that a client should consider?
Yeah, I mean, the standards kind of go along with, I guess, with the core customer service or whatever channel that you're looking for needs to meet. So, the old standby for inbound customer service was, number one was service level, making sure that a certain number of calls get answered within a certain amount of time. And that's normally, 80% of your calls need to be answered within 20 to 30 seconds. Things have kind of advanced a little bit. While that's still important, customer satisfaction, the customer satisfaction surveys now have really come into play from a voice of customer standpoint. Everybody's kind of heard of that in the industry. But again, these are things that you get with an outbound or with an outsourced contact center, because these are things that we do every day. The new standard, the one that I think is really kind of changing and shaping how customer service and customer interaction is working is your net promoter and net promoter score. So basically what that is looking at is, after the experience that your customer had, how many of those customers are actually going to go and tell a colleague or tell a friend to interact with this company. So I tell the companies that we're working for that even if they don't have net promoter, that we would like to kind of implement a little bit of that to kind of show them just what a difference that can make. But the main thing that net promoter does that I think the other two kind of fall is it really takes into account the whole process. So it's not just a trained agent that sounds and is very friendly on the phone, but what type of IVR or self-service did they have to go through? How many times did you have to call this customer back? All those things that kind of customer satisfaction plus service level, it kind of throws them all into one and gets to the bottom line, which is, did you do such a good job that this customer is going to leave happy and go tell somebody else?
Absolutely, absolutely. And on a personal note, I've hired many outsourcers for companies in the past. You always have to have a good agreement with the outsourcer. They have to know what the expectations are. You have to monitor those expectations. You have to train the staff to be who your company is. So while they will continue to do the training, you have to give them the documents on what to use on your host processing system. They are only going to be as good as their partnership with you.
Yeah, it can't be a vendor relationship.
Right.
We talk about that. It has to be a true partnership. And when that happens, it really kind of dynamic, great things can really happen on the service and on the sales side.
Sure.
If you don't treat you don't treat my company or you don't treat another outsourcer just like there's some, call center. You actually really partner and have dialogue back and forth with what you're really looking for. A lot of things can really happen.
Yeah, and definitely visit your outsourcer, visit your service bureau. You could do so unexpectedly, or you could do so with pre-arranged quarterly meetings. Again, you're in a partnership. Let's talk a little bit about outbound calling and all those regulations. I mean, we all know we hate those toll-free, those callers you could see on your caller ID coming in. I'm getting a vast majority lately, even though I'm on the do not call list.
Right.
But what kind of outbound calling restrictions are new?
Right. This is another reason why, if you're planning on doing any type of outsourcing, you have to kind of be up to snuff with the new regulations, even the new regulation that just came out in July. Make sure that if you are using any type of outsourced call center for any outbound, that they can, kind of state these like it's the back of their hand. But really, the newest and I guess most important ones came out from the FCC in July. Basically, it talks about what a predictive dialer is, which, us in the call center industry have been, they've given 14 different definitions of what an actual auto or predictive dialer is. And it's anything that really has the capacity to do any type of auto dialing from or random number dialing, which really, I don't know if it helped or really opened the door for a lot more thought into what that is. But from the cell phone aspect, calling cell phones from using a predictive auto dial is pretty much a no-no. There must be 100% opt-in from the customer for that to happen. But for the most part, if you are getting robo-dialed or robo-called and getting those automatic dialers, or if you feel like you're getting auto-dialed to a cell phone, that's pretty much totally illegal now. So you have to be very careful. This goes way beyond just making sure that your leads are scrubbed from a do not call list, from a state and national do not call list. This now goes into the actual, what you're calling, if you're calling a cell phone, what type of machinery or capabilities are you using. I say we're going back to the future. When we started, we were using manual dial phones with pressure sensitive labels that everybody would take off, right? We have gone totally back to where a lot of the financial services organizations, they do not want the predictive dialer used at all. We're manually dialing. We've come up with a lot of, and the industry is kind of coming up with new policies and procedures to make sure that contacts still stay, relatively high. But yeah, there's a lot of new legality that comes into play with that.
Yeah, I know it's pretty scary, but I also think a good thing. But I know in the healthcare industry, you really do have to make sure, because they have, for their automatic appointment confirmation software, that robocalling that goes out there, they have to make sure if that primary care calling number, if it's a cell phone, that they have asked and have to indicate that they did ask on the patient record.
Yeah, and Laura, the other thing is too, you're allowed now one phone call to a cell phone that's not that number. So if you call a customer on a cell phone and you call it manually and they say that's not this customer, you cannot call them again. It's a one-time deal. So there's a lot that plays in. So if you are thinking of any type of outbound calling, make sure that you're kind of up to stuff on a lot of the new regs.
Right. So, what do you think in the outsourcing industry for 2020, let's say? Put your crystal ball out there on the table. Right. What do you think a contact center is going to be like, an outsourcer of the future?
Well, just to dovetail what we just talked about, the first thing is outbound calling, I believe by that time will be 100% opt-in. I don't think that anyone's going to be really allowed to be called without giving permission for that. And I think that's one from that aspect. But I think from maybe a fun aspect, I think video is going to be a huge player in what we do. We're starting to see the early innovators come to us now and say, hey, can you kind of do some of this stuff? So from a customer service side, from a co-browsing, making sure that there is a video aspect. Well, FaceTime from all the iPhones have really kind of opened up and got people comfortable with that. The other thing that kind of plays into it is kind of the emergence of big data and voice. So you hear about, there's so much information out there on customers, from what websites they're on, from how many times they've interacted with you. But just to really kind of put all those things together for a really unique experience. So not having to ask customers 13 times what their account number is when they call.
Right.
Having to ask what their social security number is, having all that information. Going directly to an agent when somebody calls in. in dealing with the same type of agent. I think those are all kind of small, but kind of really big and unique things that can help really from the customer service.
Well, you know what it is too? They also give you that personalization that the customer wants. So we are just about out of time, so I've got one last question. We know our show is called Sikorsky's Think Abouts, and another way of saying it is takeaways after listening to this show. So what do you think, 3 or 4 items that our viewers could do to really decide whether or not they are a outsourcer destined service bureau company, or should they do the contact center in-house?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is, as we talked about, is know your customers. Understand what type of customer base you have. Are they looking for more technology? Are they looking for self-service? Do they not really want to call 1-800 number and talk to you? So I would say the first thing is kind of, look at your customers and make sure that your customers or see if your customers are matching the channels that you have available. The other one is, there's a lot that people don't know about or don't really think about from a marketing aspect. So even if you do have somebody calling in on a 1-800 number, really looking to see, something that we didn't talk about is could these be monetized a little bit? How can I, to really take these calls and make, not just to make my call center an expense, but try to make it a little bit of a profit center too. There's proper ways to do that. There's a lot of improper ways to do that as well.
Right.
So I would, I think that's, an aspect when people think of cost. And the other thing is, this could be for a whole nother episode, but looking at, I'm basically talking specifically on U.S. contact centers. I think the U.S. I'm very biased. I think there's a lot of really great centers that do good work, but there's also there is a need and there also is a use for nearshore centers and offshore centers as well. That kind of come into play depending on what you're looking for. We know we don't like to call 1-800 numbers in India and deal with Indian customer service just from a language aspect. That can be a little bit difficult.
Sure.
But they do a great job with a lot of non-voice, with a lot of chat, things like that. So there's a lot that you can kind of look at that maybe you don't think about when you think of should I outsource, should I not?
Well, thank you, Tom. You have been a perfect guest. To those of you out there, to reach Tom, his office number is 814-868-5500. His email is tlaird, Laird, at Expedia, that's expivia.net. And the web is expedia.net. And of course, you can reach him on Twitter at expeviaceo.net. And certainly for me, it's Laura Sikorsky on Twitter, and my cell is 631-624-6650. And please, if you'd like to be a guest or have a suggestion for a topic, or if you want to ask Tom a question at some point in the future or ask him to address another show, that would be great too. And of course, we always want to thank Corinne M. Caro, who is President and CEO of Blue Chip Marketing and the Daily Blue, the network that we're coming to you on. And of course, our Sam, who did a great job today helping us get set up. And to reach them, please do so at 631-761-9223. And with that, thank you all for joining us and clicking in, and have a perfect rest of the day.